Sound advice to keep your body and mind in perfect harmony. You're tuned in to the Dr. Stephen Show. Now, here is Dr. Stephen Eisenberg.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Dr. Stephen Show. I have an amazing guest today. Dr. Amy Shah, fasting MD, double board certified internal medicine doctor, allergist and immunologist, best-selling author, and wellness expert. She is just so amazing. I've known her for a number of years. Her new book is I'm So Effing Tired, which I am. Oh my God, I think we all are. Her Instagram is @fastingmd. It's so amazing. I aspire to be as engaged and wonderful and so generous on Instagram as she is. She has quite a tribe, quite a community. I'm so happy to welcome Amy Shah, MD, to the show today. Hi.
Thank you so much for having me. We have wanted to do this for years, like literally years.
Years, I know.
I can't remember. I'm losing track of time. When did we see each other in person?
We saw each other at Mindshare a few years
that
ago.
was a couple
Shout
of
out to
years ago.
JJ Virgin.
Yeah.
Hello, JJ. I know you're listening and watching. And then we first met at Michael Fishman's like little private.
Yeah.
It was like you, me, and Joel Kahn.
Yeah, and Busy and Jason.
Busy and Jason. It was a fearsome fivesome.
Totally. Oh my gosh, that was a great time.
I know. We still communicate with all of those people.
All of them. Yes.
It was really
How
special.
Cool is that?
It was really special. Like you.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget when I met you, because I was like, wow, she's brilliant. She's like generous. She's very engaged. She's like great with social media and a great immunologist. And hello, right? We're just going through COVID-19. We're hopefully on the other side of it. And I loved when at the beginning of this, I'd go on your Instagram and you were so great. Every day you were distilling the data. So again, immunology, right? Our immune systems were so important, and stress, sleep, not sleeping, stress makes our immune system worse, right?
Absolutely. In fact, stress and mental stress has just the same effect as, eating junk food or smoking. People think of like stress relief as kind of like a side thing that if you get time, you do. But through my research, I realized it's just as important as what you're eating. It's just as important as your workout. If you knew how important it was and how much it impacts the rest of your body, you would never, ever go a day without doing something to relieve your stress.
Yeah. And I want to go back. Because I want to hear your origin story, because I have read about you, and I love your book, by the way. It's so relatable. It's for anyone. It's for anybody, because we're all tired. We're all stressed. Mm-hmm. But when you were younger, and you were coming up through school and med school, stress really affected you, didn't it? You went through like a major life, like an issue with your health and stress. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, absolutely. So, all throughout medical school, college, medical school, then training and residency and fellowship, all those years, I was really stressed. And I think everybody, my colleagues were stressed, but there was something different about once I had my own practice and I had my own family, children, and the stress of having a practice that's all on you and the stress of having children, that was just a whole different world. And it really rocked my world. And that's basically was the lowest point of my life, not so long ago. So basically I had started my practice and it was up to me. In my mind, it was like the sink or sail moment, because I had just become a partner and I had this chance of growing this practice. Mm-hmm. And then I had these two little children who were dependent on us, really so much on me, to take care of them and to mother them. And I had a lot of mom guilt because no one in my family, I had no female role models for women who were working and raising their children. So what I felt is I had to be like a full-time mom, and I would need to be an excellent physician, and I need to grow this business of a medical practice. And it was all a little too much. I started to get a lot of anxiety and I couldn't sleep at night. And I started to realize I had GI symptoms. Like I would be bloated, and then I would be constipated. I'd have all these like physical symptoms. And I knew there was something wrong with me because I was always so tired. It was like, Stephen, it was like the wired but tired feeling. Like like you're so tired, but like your mind is going at 1,000,000 miles per hour. And that I knew there was something wrong, but I just didn't have time to fix it really.
There was no time. You had to keep going.
Time. Yeah. And like, if I literally thought it was like that analogy of like glass balls, like juggling glass balls, and you can't let any of them fall because something would shatter and break. And so literally I was like going through the motions every single day, trying to do more and more. And I wouldn't let myself sleep because I thought, well, if I just didn't sleep, then I would get more done. And then I wouldn't, I'd be more successful. And, in our society, burnout is great. People love burnout. We reward burnout. We talk about it, but we reward it, right?
Yep.
So,
oh my God.
I had my literally the turning point was one day I was coming home from work, and like you, I know you know this, I had an impromptu meeting at work, and I didn't have the guts to tell them that I needed to leave. So because I had to pick up my kids. So I just sat in that meeting, like literally could not even think straight, could not even concentrate. So all I kept thinking is like, I gotta go. Because if I don't go, the lady at the center is going to look at me like, you're so late, and I needed to go home. So I'm rushing, literally driving the car as fast as I can. As when I got out of the meeting, so fast that I didn't even know where, like how I was like, I was literally like frantic is the best way to describe it.
Yeah.
And as I was turning into the street where the center was to pick up my kids, I got into a huge car accident. Huge meaning like I have never in my life been in a situation where all the airbags, everything in the back, in the front, and the sides, all the glass was shattered.
Oh my God.
The car was spinning like, it felt like minutes. Obviously it was like seconds. But you won't believe it. When everything stopped, I like brushed the stuff aside. I like
the glass.
I had all the stuff. I opened the door with the airbag and I jumped out, and I was like, I need to go get my kids. And they looked at people. It was like a multi-car accident, and everybody was like, you're a crazy woman if you're, and I was like, if they understood, like, okay, the center is closing and I need to go. So that's literally how my life was. That was a low of the low. I was injured. I was demoralized. I felt like, what has my life come to? Because I felt like in a way I could have prevented that if I had just, been a little more present, been a little more, I don't drive like that kind of maniac driving, and I wouldn't put myself in that situation. Why did I put myself in that situation? And that week I was forced to take off. I didn't have a choice. And when I examined my life, I was able to see there was a lot of things wrong with this life. I was not the person I wanted to be. I wasn't living the way I wanted to live. And that's really what spurred my whole wellness journey. Is I was like, something's got to give. I got to start. I had already started listening to podcasts and audiobooks in the car the month prior. And so I kind of had in my mind like what I wanted to start to do. And that started the whole thing. Like,
wow.
When I met you was probably halfway through that journey where I'd already realized, okay, well, I'm getting myself out of this dark place. I think I can help other people. get out of this dark place. But I just didn't know how, like as a physician, I didn't have any training in like, okay, how do you do this internet world, or how do you spread the message? And that's why social media has been such a gift for me, because it's literally like dummy friendly. And I can literally say, hey, here's what I've been working on for myself. Maybe it'll work for you. And it's been an amazing way to bounce ideas off, see what works for other people, maybe because they're different from you, get a lot of feedback, and build a community. So it's been awesome.
Oh my God. Well, I remember you telling me, hey, get out there and be authentic and engage
Yeah.
and engage. And I mean, what you just shared was so vulnerable, so beautiful. It's almost like there's so much burnout in medicine, first of all, for all the doctors listening, but it goes beyond just medicine. The suicide rate is higher amongst doctors. And 1 out of every 2 primary care doctors, either um, internists, family medicine, ER, they're burned out. 1 out of every 2, 50%, 50%. And what you just described was describing me. It was the same story when I started practice. And the data shows that it's younger doctors who are just becoming partners, building the practice. It's all on you. Eat what you kill. Remember that?
Yeah,
Remember that?
totally.
Like that. People are reading that statement in my book and they're like, whoa, that's crazy. That was so vulnerable and great. Like, that is what makes you so special, because you have transformed your life, what you went through, and you're walking the walk. You're walking the walk. You're talking the talk, but you're also you're showing everybody your Instagram. You're doing yoga. You are making
Yeah.
smoothies. And I'm so effing tired. It really takes you through this journey that you went through, and it gives you all these wonderful tips and tricks. But it's physical, it's mental, it's spiritual, isn't it?
It's all of them. And especially the mental piece is the one. I know you talk a lot about this, but most doctors do not talk a lot about that mental piece. And I think it's like the piece that we really need people to talk about. Like, this is the mind body connection is huge. And that quote, you can eat all the kale, drink all the water, but if you don't fix what's in your mind and your heart and fix that, then it doesn't matter. You're not healthy.
No. What do you do, like, when you first wake up in the morning? Like, how do you not check your how do you not check your email and your text first thing in the morning? Like, how did you take those first steps to start transforming burned out Amy to this new energetic and for lack of a better word, really thought leader?
Mhm.
I don't want to use the G word, although I think the G in your middle name could be guru, because you are a health guru. But I mean, you're a thought leader. And what's the first shifts people can take? I want you to go back to when you
Yeah.
were first, because you're on the other side of it now. You're writing books about it. How did you first break the vicious cycle? Because I was in it, and for me, I had to start meditating and
Hmm.
really making some big changes. What did you do specifically when you were in that vicious cycle? You got out of the accident. You're okay, thank God. You got your kids. What next? What happened next in your journey? Your hero's journey, because you are my hero. You are my
you
hero.
no, you're my hero. So I did. If when I look back at this, is such a great question, because sometimes you get overwhelmed with all the little pieces that you have to do. When actually I look back at it, and this is something I haven't shared before, because I realized that the first thing was what I mentioned before, is that I started to read and listen to audiobooks and podcasts. And that literally was my first step, because I was in like the pre-contemplative state, meaning that like I wasn't ready to make a change, but I wanted to learn a little bit more. And I just happened to listen to some podcasts that were health-based because, I in my previous life, I was very, very into exercise and health. And it was just that brief time in my life that I was really kind of burning the candle at both ends. So I couldn't really work out or do anything properly. So I think reading, and for people who are time strapped, audiobooks and podcasts were the first move that I made. And what I did is I picked books and podcasts that were around kind of the struggles that I was having. So I picked ones about health, about how to improve your mindset, how to, and, I read at the time, I read Tim Ferriss's book, 4 Hour Work Week. And I was listening to Rich Roll's podcast. And Rich Roll had written a book that I had also listened to called Finding Ultra, where he got sober, changed his life. He went from being a lawyer to, following his dreams. And so much of these things had little effects in my mind. And I think that's a nice first step for people if they're not ready to make huge changes. But the biggest thing I changed was learning about circadian rhythms. Like, I think that this internal clock, a lot of people don't even know what circadian rhythms are, but they're this internal clock that runs your body. And what I didn't realize is that we're supposed to get light during the day. Like, our eyes and our brain and every cell in our body is supposed to see natural light. It's not enough to just be in your bedroom and turn on the overhead light. That's not enough to get your brain going and to get your endorphins and serotonin and dopamine. So I started to add in a little bit of natural light every morning. And I think that was so transformative because, you don't just stand there when you go outside. I was like, well, while I'm standing here, I'll do a few stretches. I'll I maybe do a little breathing exercises. And when you're out of your to-do list, even for a couple of minutes, all of a sudden things start to get clear. Like, every day I would go out there and I would have a few minutes to myself, and like my true feelings, my true wants, or the true things that were bothering me would all start to surface, because otherwise I was just stuck in my day-to-day go to-do list. So I started to really cherish that little bit of time in the morning. And sometimes it ended up being only like the walk from the parking lot to my office. And I just like paused for a few minutes. Sometimes it was literally, people ask me like, oh, what if you live in a really cold place? I said, you can be in your car, roll down the window and just like watch the sky or sun, give yourself a pause for a minute. And that was transformative, learning that your body needs this natural light to wake up, to feel happy, to feel focused. And then it needs darkness to wind down, to go into repair mode. Those two things were the most transformative things.
I love it. And then anybody can start with that.
It's free, easy.
And it's when you get the morning light, you sleep better at night because you're training you're training your brain, your melatonin, correct?
Yes. Actually, getting bright light exposure early in the morning is one of the best ways to not only get a better night's sleep, which is of course super important, but it's also a nice way to become a morning person and be able to focus and be energetic during the day. So all three reasons should be reasons that you should get that morning light. It doesn't need to be sunny, it can be cloudy, it can be overcast, it can be just sunrise, it can be, dark, whatever. Just get it.
You were talking about fasting before everyone was talking about fasting. And intermittent fasting, it's everywhere right now. But you were also talking about circadian fasting. And I want you to talk about the difference there. And that gets into the body's natural rhythms and also doing like a fasted or circadian fasted workout, I know is part of your regime, if you will. Can you talk a little bit about intermittent fasting with that little added piece of circadian fasting? Because I think that's a big differentiator for you. And you've been talking about that for many years. And that's your Instagram handle. I mean, come on.
Yeah, this is my thing. So what happened is I realized that all these people who were talking about intermittent fasting, like 7 or 8 years ago, they were all talking about it in a way that didn't seem right to me because I've done that where I don't eat till 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon and I eat really poorly. My energy levels are awful. And so I was like, this sounds really crazy. But when I looked at the science, what
Yeah.
it looked like is actually that the fasting window should be as much overnight as possible, meaning that starting your fast early in the evening, kind of near sundown, and fasting all evening long, plus the overnight, and then just a little bit in the morning. Really, just if you think about it evolutionarily, there's no drive-throughs, 24-hour drive-throughs, and microwaves and refrigerators. So most people after sundown kind of called it a night. They may
Yeah.
have had a small snack here and there, but it's really, they were done. And then in the morning, they didn't just roll out of bed and have a glass of juice with a muffin, right? Like
Mm-mm.
it was a couple hours, maybe 1 or 2 hours before they actually got some food. So when I learned about the um, science of it and that matched the evolutionary habits that we had, it made all the sense to me because I said, okay, our brain and our cells need to have a daytime activity pattern and then a nighttime activity pattern. The daytime activity pattern is metabolism, like eating and thinking and socializing and all that stuff. And the nighttime is the relaxing, the restorative, and the repair. And
Mm.
the more we can live with that kind of day night pattern, the better all of it works. And so I started to do something that I hadn't done in years, which is not eat a snack at night. So I would
Mm.
finish dinner at 6 or 7 p.m. and then I didn't have a snack and I slept because then you sleep because then you're like, well, I don't have any snacks anymore, so I might as well go to bed. And so then you sleep, the optimal amount and you get up and maybe you do some stretches, you go for a walk or even a fasted workout. And I'll tell you why, later on, why fasted workouts can be really beneficial. But then, and then you break your fast and it felt really good to me. My energy levels were going through the roof and I was happy. I wasn't cranky like I was with that other type of fasting.
Yeah.
And what I realized is you don't need to be doing the 16-8, which is the typical fasting regimen, which is 16 hours of fasting, 8 hours of eating. I realized that was made up by someone who, somebody made it popular and that's not
Yeah.
even science based. We really don't know the optimal timing of fasting. And it could be different for Dr. Stephen and different for me. So you got to find your optimal timing. So in the
Mm.
book, I actually tell people that start with 12 hours because it's super easy. Even though you think it's easy, it's actually not. So 12 hours is the base. And then every other day, you push yourself a little bit. And pushing yourself may look like 14 hours. It may look like 16 hours. It may look like 18 hours, or it may look like 12 and a half hours. You know what I mean? Like you really have to personalize it to you.
Little tiny bit at a time.
Yeah. And you see the huge differences in your metabolism, your insulin levels, your weight, your energy, your digestion, and it just speaks for itself.
So I want to get a little bit more into this. Like, all right, you eat. All right, when did you wake up this morning?
Okay. I woke up this morning at 6. I always wake up at 6.
Okay. And did you check your phone?
What did I do this morning?
I
Yeah.
mean,
Okay.
did you
So
go
yeah.
outside immediately?
No. So this is what I do. So just like most people, I have an alarm, but it's kind of like an oh shit alarm. Do you know what that means? Like I set my alarm for
I
6:30 because
okay.
I just feel like in the off chance that I sleep, and this happens, of course, it happens to everybody, but in the off chance that I sleep past, my normal wake time, maybe I didn't get a good night's sleep or whatever.
Oh,
I want to have an alarm as a backup because that's the latest I could absolutely get up. I
got it.
love getting up before my alarm. That's my goal. My goal is to never have that alarm go off. So I
Uh-huh.
actually, first thing I do is I turn off my alarm on my phone.
So it never went off, hopefully.
Yeah, it did not go off today.
No, I
So
try
then,
to not have an alarm ever.
yeah, but aren't you worried that there'll be day where you must have a backup plan?
Yeah, that's Julie, my wife. That's my wife, Julie.
See, there you go. Like you have a live alarm clock. That's still an alarm clock.
What are you
know
doing?
What I mean?
What are you still doing in bed?
Yeah,
She'll come in and be like, "Come on," and she'll throw open the drapes and go, "Let's go, come on!" All right, so I'm blessed with that.
I need
Like,
a Julie.
you need a
Yeah.
Julie. Wait, but okay, let's get back to you.
Yeah. Okay.
So you turn off your alarm before it goes off,
I get up.
and then what's
and
next?
I do get up. I usually do what I often do is I kind of scan the screen of my phone to make sure there was no like emergency text or like, I turn off my phone pretty early in the evening, about 8 o'clock. I
Good.
don't check.
We're going to get to that.
Yeah, I don't check any messages or emails or anything. And so sometimes, so what I do is I look at my phone. I definitely look at my phone. I'm not preaching to anyone that, you should live a prehistoric life where your phone is, if you can get away from it, great. But for most of us who have children, who have schools and blah, 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 I like to look at any kind of emergency text. If it's just social, if it's not essential, I just put it away. And I go and usually what I do is I wash my face.
That's real, ladies and gentlemen. That's real.
Yeah.
You got to see if there's an emergency.
Yeah. Like, you don't know.
Are you still are you on call certain nights?
I'm not on call, but I do get text messages from work. Mm-hmm. I get text messages from school, from friends who need help in the morning. You know what I mean? Like carpool.
That's
whatever.
Real. Yeah.
So
okay,
I do have to check that.
Yeah.
Like today I got a text from a friend that said, "Can you give my daughter a ride?" Yep. And those are the things you need to be able to see in the morning. So I get up, I brush my teeth, I wash my face first. I don't go outside before that. I go to the bathroom, brush my teeth, wash my face. And usually what I do is I change into a workout outfit. And first thing after I brush my teeth. Yeah. And then I walk outside in change and ready, meaning that at that point, if I have a chance, if I have more than 20 minutes, I will be going for my fasted run, walk, stretch, whatever it is. So what I did today is I actually had a workout class planned. So I went outside, I stretched, I got my sunlight.
Yeah.
And then I popped in and got in the car and drove to my workout. And after I did a fasted workout. Awesome. So this is something that I highly recommend to people. When you do it first thing in the morning, it doesn't even feel that hard. Like in the first couple of days, it kind of takes that mental shift to be like, okay, I don't need to be eating anything before my workout. Yeah. And then you start to get used to it. It's just like anything.
What was the workout today? Where'd you go?
So I did, it's a class, a really, really cool, fun, hip. I'm probably like the oldest person in the room. Class called Body, BODI. And you know how Scottsdale is very hip and cool. So it's got a vibe, like a whole old town vibe. It's high. Yeah, totally. Yeah. And it's high intensity and they mix it up. There's strength class and there's sweat class. And today was a strength class. So it means 80% strength, 20% cardio. The sweat classes are 80% cardio and 20% strength. So I did that. And guess what? After that, I had a little time before I had to change and get into my car to go to work. Yeah. And so I spent a little bit of time. And this is when I went through my emails. I went through my text message, but I was walking outside. There's a track outdoors on a canal. It's beautiful. Right behind Body, this gym.
After the class.
And so what I did is I extended my fast a little bit longer. It's still only 8:30 at this point, after the class. So I'm checking my emails, checking my most urgent messages because that's the time I had. I had about 30 minutes and I was walking during the whole time. I had these headphones on, walking, checking my stuff, replying, saying to Dr. Steven, see you tonight, all that stuff. And then, telling my kids like, don't forget, blah, 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 and then,
so real.
then I got ready, got back to the locker room, change, got ready, and then I go straight to work. And the nice thing is I bring the thing to break my fast. So as soon as I get in the car, I'm like, I'm hungry,
Yeah.
And so
what was it? What did you bring?
So I always bring the same few things. And so it's kind of a habit, but I look forward to it. So I don't know if you've heard me talk about it, but if you know me, I love like spicy. So I had my chai latte. Yeah.
I know.
And so
I've had it.
It's so good. It's no sugar. So I break that. I do that. I do a handful of nuts.
That's the drink of queens and kings.
Yeah, it is. It was actually invented. They think between 5 and 10,000 years ago for the king, because he wanted some like health tonic from the Ayurvedic specialist.
Yep.
And they like concocted this like delicious drink for him. And it became, rest is history, obviously.
Yeah.
So,
so you had a chai latte with you?
Yeah. Yes.
No
And then
sugar.
I had
No sugar.
Then I had nuts and I had berries. And
What
the
type
reason
of
why
nuts? What type of berries?
Okay, so I had so I don't like to get ready-made trail mixes because they're just full of all this crap.
Yeah,
So I did
M&Ms.
raw. Yeah, I did raw almonds. But then I also added pistachios, which have a little salt in them.
Yeah.
And so it added that little like flavor. And then I did raw Brazil nuts because it's just what I had in the pantry. And then some raw walnuts.
Good omega-3s.
Exactly. And then I had my berries, which like literally I could eat many. I probably have 3 servings of berries, which berries, they give them in this, like you purchase them in these like tiny little containers. It's so crazy.
Like that big.
Like you could have 3 of those, right? I'm sure you could have 3 of those. Even I could have 3. So usually I have basically 3 servings of berries. It's blueberries, strawberries, and raspberries, and in a big container. And I usually snack on that. So between the nuts, the berries, and the chai, I'm kind of good for that first hour. And then today, what I did is, because I had a busy clinic day, I brought these balls with me that had oats, peanut butter, plant protein, and chocolate chips.
You made those? You made those?
No. So there's a local like eatery, like a health food store, where this like local lady, she makes them. And they're like in these like plastic baggies. And it's basically all it is oats, peanut butter, chocolate chips, and protein. So and they're super convenient for when you have a rushed day. And so I usually do something like that. Like
someone could make them. Someone could make them easily.
This is so easy, right?
Yeah.
You could easily make it. And it's made with stevia. And so it's a little sweet, but it's really good. And then that's what I usually do during clinic. And I don't eat again until probably 1 or 2 p.m. And that's when I try to do my big plant-based meal with like, salads with protein, but plant-based protein. And then I have a really bad witching hour between 3 and 4. That time where like it's not dinner yet, but it's like you're so, your cortisol's lulls. So I usually try to be very mindful, because in the last few years, I learned that that's when my energy dips and I choose really bad foods. And so, and I love crunchy and salty. So it's really hard. So I've found a few things that hold me over during that time. And I love drinks. So I usually do a latte and a little bit of salty snack. There's like this company, I think it's called Benito's, and they make like a little like high protein salty snack mix that's like just like lentils and beans and like edamame. It's super good. And then I'll have and then that's basically my day at work, and then I'm done. And usually I have something going on with the kids. Today I had to go to the bank because of wellness business stuff. And then kids and family and being this
present.
being
present.
Yeah, being
Wait, so
present.
when you're in your clinic, you're on your feet the whole time, or do you go back and
No,
forth to the office? You're doing telemedicines
no,
sometimes? Are you
I'm
running
in,
around?
it's it's like a combination of sitting and standing and moving to the next room.
Yeah,
Not a ton of movement, but definitely not sitting
I
in
know
one
about
place.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
And you might have a little peanut butter oat thing in between.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And so I try not to. My biggest, when I first started my practice and I was having my burnout symptoms, what I would do is I would bring nothing from home because I'd be so busy in the morning. I'd be like rushing out. And
Yep.
if I got to Starbucks, yeah, great. But if I didn't have time, I'd just go straight. And then I'd be rummaging in the back kitchen
Yeah.
for something because there was always something there. There was
Junk.
like a baked
Donuts.
good,
Yeah.
yeah, donuts. There was drink, there's all kinds of stuff. And I realized that every single day I would feel awful at the end of the day because I was starving, and then I would eat that stuff, and then I'd feel tired. And so I learned, okay, you bring your own food, but make it delicious. Make it something you look forward to. Make it something you
Yeah.
want to eat. So
Yes.
that was life changing for me. So we actually are super, super lucky, and we have my parents help out a lot with my kids, and we have so often when I go and get the kids stuff ready, they'll help with getting me ready so I can kind of get out of the house in the morning without having. I know there's so many people who are like, well, that sounds like a crazy easy morning routine, but really I skip the part where I'm like running around with my husband and trying to get the kids ready to go. But we're so lucky to have my parents and help so that we can, get them out on time. My dad, since I was in training,
Yeah.
has told me that he will be there to help with my
Oh,
kids at any time possible. So I can't even
that's
tell the story of my
beautiful.
day without
Do they
telling
live with
you.
you?
Yeah, so basically what we did, because we live in Arizona and it's like a little weird how things go here. There was a house, they had come to help us. And then 2 years after they had come, and they were living in a separate house, like 2 miles away.
Mm-hmm.
But my kids were little and it was still inconvenient. And we would forget one thing at one house and forget something. So we found this new house and it had a guest house. And
Yes.
so, this is a Arizona thing. And I'm from the East Coast. I'd never even heard of a guest house, but you can actually make these guest houses. So this one is connected by the garages. So there's garage, and then there's a guest house on the other side. And
Cool.
so we just
I've
kind
seen
of built
those.
that out for them. So it's kind of nicer than just a little one room thing.
Yeah.
We built out a master bedroom. There's a full kitchen.
I
And the
love
funny
this.
thing, the funny thing, Stephen, is that when we first moved into that house, we only lived in the guest house because my parents cooked every night. And if we got home from work, we'd want to eat and we'd eat there. And everybody was like, do you guys actually like live in your guest house? And I said, well, it reminds us of our New York apartment. So it was like nice and cozy.
Uh-huh.
So yeah, I couldn't do any of the things I do without literally their support and help.
This is
Like
when you were in Cornell.
yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, and all through my training. So I was mostly in New York, Boston for a few years, but mostly in New York. So yeah, it's been so helpful. I think one thing I would advise to any working parent, mom or dad, is to have that support system. So me and my husband are both physicians. And so, yes, we can support each other, but it's really hard without a lot of help. And so we
Mm-hmm.
have all the help we can get. And I really, really recommend that for people who are trying to beat their fatigue and burnout, that when you're working on yourself, and one of the things you have to do is get help. Like you cannot do it all. I don't know. You can't do this podcast all by yourself. Like you can't do, and definitely can't do child rearing and, take care of yourself and run businesses if you don't have help. So definitely that's one thing I would highly, highly recommend.
But what I also love is it's also your parents
Yeah.
and that intergenerational love.
Yeah.
It's the it's the wisdom. It's the wisdom from the
Yeah.
elders. And, it's your parents. And it's so beautiful that they're so close and the kids have them. My mother moved out here. I'm in San Diego. She moved
Yeah.
out from Philadelphia just a
Wow.
few years ago, but she says it changed her life, and she's available and she babysits. And it
Uh,
changes everything to have your parents
yeah.
close by. And so that's beautiful. That is so beautiful. Okay, so
Oh,
now
my
go
kids
ahead.
are literally, my kids think it's like a set of four parents. That's how they feel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What type of doctor is hubby?
He is a gastroenterologist.
Oh, wow.
Um,
Well, you've got it all covered.
yeah. And
Microbiome,
yeah.
immunology. I
So
mean,
Stephen, it was,
isn't most of the immune system in the gut?
yeah. So funny story is that when I started to really get into the microbiome science, and I was still in med school. And so I said, I'm really starting to love this, microbiome stuff. Maybe I should go into GI also. And he was like, wait, what? He's like, because he's wanted to go into GI since he was a kid, like, long before that, especially when he got into med school, it was all GI from day one. And here I was, fourth year when we had to pick our specialties. I was like, I was really into oncology. It's really
I was going to say,
into,
did you think of Hem-Onc?
oh, that was like,
Because you're so
probably,
compassionate and loving.
yeah, I loved that field. I love cardiology. I love Hem-Onc. I love GI. But then because of my nutrition background, I wanted to pick something with GI, and then immunology felt right. And that way I wouldn't have to be in the same field as him, because then we felt like that would be a little too close. Like
Right.
people were like, be careful, do not,
Uh-huh.
get married and go into the same residency and, pick the same specialty. So literally we did everything. We didn't pick the same specialty. We couples match, but we did not want to be in the same program because, everybody says like you'll kill each other and you'll hate each other. And so
Yeah.
we picked separate programs, but we were in separate fields. And it's so funny. I think around the time that we met in person, he had just started on his own personal health journey, which was way after mine. Because
Wow.
we all go through it separately, right? We all
Yeah.
go through it. It's a personal thing. And he watched me go through mine, and he was like, I'm good. I'll keep eating my drive through, and I don't, I don't need that healthy food and whatever. But then he had his own journey, and it's similar to yours and mine, except that there's some details that were a little bit different and really did help me with when I work with people now, because now I know I know thousands of ways it can be done, and we just have to kind of like adjust to the person. So like some people, for him, he was all about momentum. So he didn't like what I said, which is, every day pick a fast that's right for you. Like, it can be between 12 and 16 hours. For him, he likes momentum and consistency. Like every day he wanted to work out the same, wanted to have the water goal, and it had to be every single day. And I think that's some people really work really well on momentum, and they don't really like that flexibility because it gives them too much like confusion. And so I learned a lot from working with him, guiding him through this, and working with a lot of other people on their journeys. It really helped me, especially before writing the book.
Well, it sounds like you have what I call a powerful partnership with your
Yeah, no,
hubby.
I mean, he's not into the wellness space. It's so funny. I took him to one of the Mind Body Green retreats one time just to show him what it was all about. And he was like, wow, this stuff is crazy. Because, when you live inside the medical world, you really don't even know what's
You
out there.
don't. And for everyone, Dr.
Let me turn
Amy
off.
is she's a contributor to Mind Body Green. Her content on Mind Body Green is amazing. You have to check that out as well, with all of her content. Okay, so I want to get back to. Do you have a little more time?
Yes, yes. I was just turning the light on. See?
Good. Yeah, because you're awesome. All right, so I want to get back to the book because I'm so impressed with it, and it's been out for a little while now, and it's been doing great. Number one in physical ailments and diseases. That's one of the categories that you
Yeah.
learn when
Yeah.
when you have a book. You're like, oh,
I
wait,
know.
there's diseases and then there's immunology under that. So there's like thousands of categories. But you were the #1 new release. And how did you come up with the did you always want to write a book? Was it your journey? How did it come? And I love the title because it's so relevant, and it's so, I mean, as soon as I saw that was the name of your book, I'm like, of course, brilliant, relatable, vulnerable, because you talk
Yeah.
about it through your own experience. How did it all come to be?
Okay. So the whole point of my journey, when I started to write for Mind Body Green, was to someday write a book. My goal in our traditional medical training, most people go through their career and like at some point they kind of go part-time or semi-retire when they're like in their 60s and their kids are,
Yeah.
done with school, and they write books, like that's very common in our field. And the way we knew it. So
Yeah.
I said, you know what, that's what I want to do. I want to start gathering data. I want to learn. Because really wisdom comes from learning, writing. And luckily I had Mind Body Green to test out material. And then all of a sudden, one day, the editor from Mind Body Green said, Dr. Shah, a lot of people want to know how to get in touch with you, if you have a social media or a website. And I was like, well, I have my practice website. I have like my personal email. And so literally that week I created that day I created a website by Googling like how to create a website. And that was my first website. And I did it in like 20 minutes between patients. And that was the first thought that, oh, wow, this could be more than just a practice run for, 15 years from now.
Yes.
It just happened.
Well, how did you find Mind Body Green? How did Mind Body Green come to Dr. Amy?
Okay, so this is a great story. One of those days in my pre-contemplative state,
yes,
I was listening to the Rich Roll podcast.
Yes.
And in the Rich Roll podcast, Jason Walkup, who was the CEO of Mind Body Green, it was brand new back then, came on the show. And Rich did an interview and said, my good friend Jason runs a site called Mind Body Green. If you're anybody who's anybody or in wellness, you either write for them or you read this site, And I said, well, I'm into wellness. Like,
a light went off.
Yeah, like how come I don't read or write for those people? And he even said, like, you can submit, right? Like anybody can submit, right? And Jason goes, oh yeah, you could send a submission through submissions@mindbodygreen.com. And I remember that day I drove to work and I was like, wow. Yeah. And I was looking for, ideas to de-stress. And so when I had this car accident and I had some, time to kind of think about things, I was like, I'm going to submit something. And so I wrote up a little thing and I looked at their site and I was like, okay, what would be good for me? And I just wrote up something and I sent it. And I was like, that feeling of like, oh my God, like I'm so nervous.
Yeah.
I sent it and I knew like nothing may happen, but
you felt good.
2 days later, I got an email that said, hey, Dr. Amy, like this looks fun, interesting. Like we'd love to publish it. And I was like, wait, what? And it literally was like that permission that I was looking for to do more of that. And it became my creative outlet, and all day, every day, in between patients, after work, to get my stress out. I would write about, it wasn't like novels, but it was like blog posts. Yes. And then I submitted 1 a week, then 2 a week, then I would do like a couple a week. Wow. And I was just so regular.
What was in that first one?
Oh yeah. So did
you talk about the accident?
No, the first one. Oh, I was not ready to be like, raw. Yeah. I was really embarrassed to even submit anything. So it was.
Yeah, we're doctors. We don't.
Yeah.
Bare our soul to everybody first. Yes. Things first.
Yeah, and like you want to be professional, and like
right.
It was a semi-professional one. Like, what would a doctor advise patients about going to the doctor? Like
Yes. Right. Right.
something very, it was very doctor-like.
Yes. Yes. Well, that's
and
how we're trained to think. But now you're so vulnerable.
But I think, what happened is you either dip your toe in the pool or you jump in, and there's no in between. And I was kept dipping my toe in, and I was like, should I get out or should I jump in? And so finally, a couple of years ago, I'm like, you know what? I'm always going to be a doctor. Nobody can ever take that away from me. I
Nope.
will always have a job. I'm not going to quit seeing patients. Like I have my job now, established practice.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just took the leap, and, my husband could not understand it. Most of my friends or family members could not understand. They're like, why are you doing this? Like, are you bored? Are you not, and,
Bored.
and I think that until I wrote my book, it was still kind of like everybody kind of thought about this weird thing that I was doing on the side, like
Yeah.
this whole world is so like interesting and different for people who aren't a part of it. So, but it's been a great journey, and now there's no turning back, right? You're there. There's no turning back. Like, I'm like, okay, I'm here. Like, this is it. I gotta like make this happen. Meaning that I want, now I'm in this position where I could create a wellness practice the way I wanted to create a wellness practice all these years. And so it's up to me. And so that's what I'm doing. I'm still seeing patients, but I see patients part-time. And then I do this the rest of the time. So it's 50-50 at this point.
That's beautiful. So in your allergy and immunology practice, you're just seeing referrals from internists and family medicine, just your regular bread and butter allergy and immunology stuff?
Yes. So I try to keep it very separate because, in the US, there's some very strict rules about, who you see as patients and who you see as kind of clients in your wellness practice. And so I want to make sure I've always been,
Smart.
and also I'm in a partnership with other doctors, and I never want them to think that, hey, Dr. Amy, she used to be a good doctor, but now she's like doing all this like woo-woo crazy weird stuff. So I always say to my patients,
it's a delicate balance.
Yeah. I always say to them, I have this site. I can give you a lot more information, teach you about these things. Check it out. It's really self-education, like with website, blog posts, there's educational material, there's products. So I'm like, check it out, but no pressure,
Yeah.
And I don't say it to everyone. I only say it to patients who kind of come in with that, that vibe that they want to learn about it and go from there. So it's a really delicate balance. And I think I like seeing patients because I feel like it keeps you in the game, like keeps you grounded. I see people every day and I'm like, wow, like the whole world is not people who know about even kale or chia seeds or like we're talking about concepts that are so basic to us, like vitamin D, and there are people out there that are like, wow, I never knew about vitamin D. And
checking
like
the level. What?
It's nice to keep yourself grounded with like real people and real problems, and people puts things in perspective. Like I know you have a job where things really get put into perspective, and so I kind of like that. I like to sometimes I feel like even in 2021 some of the things we talk about are very privileged, and it's nice to see my patients. It's almost like I'm doing a service that's different from what I do online.
Well, you are, and it is hard to understand if you're not in both worlds.
Yeah.
I think there's definitely some of us.
Yeah.
And I say us because there's, you're doing both things and doing them both beautifully well and integrating them. Isn't it true integration?
True.
Functional medicine is like, I say that 10 years ago, it was integrative medicine.
Yeah.
And before that, maybe, I don't know, complementary or alternative, but I think it's all great, and functional medicine's great. But I think it's very interesting when you're in both worlds, when you're in a traditional, and what I love is that you're combining, and I try to do this as well, combining Western medicine with Eastern medicine. Tell me more about how you incorporate Ayurveda
Yeah.
with your fasting MD practice,
Yeah.
because that's just a beautiful addition. That's how I see it.
Yes, even when we moved to the United States, I'm a first generation immigrant. So I, moved with my family, and my family was all about Ayurveda. It was just embedded in the culture. There was turmeric, paste on my skin. There was coconut oil. I mean, there was
Mm.
everything. My grandmother lived with us, just like my parents live with us now, and it was very, very. I shunned it. I
Yep.
was
I
going to
don't want.
nutrition. Yeah, like I
Yeah.
was this nutrition school at Cornell. Like we know better than you guys. Science has proven this stuff, and who knows what science is saying about your stuff.
Right.
And I went through medical school, and in medical school, I did show interest because I did a summer doing alternative complementary medicine, and I learned acupuncture and Ayurveda.
Cool.
And when I got back, I remember talking about it in my interviews for internal medicine, and people looked at me like I had two heads, right? Like they were like, "You're interested in what?" And so I started to become interested then, and I started to realize, oh my gosh, these things that these sages in Ayurveda knew 10,000 years ago are now coming true, like black pepper and oil
Right.
activate turmeric, and it makes the active compound 10,000 times more efficacious. And so I was like, wait, how did they know that, without having the research? And the same thing with the spices, like I talk about my favorite chai or whatever, the spices of cardamom and ginger, and these are the healthiest, most anti-inflammatory foods on the planet.
Anti-inflammatory diet is the same thing as anti-cancer diet.
Yeah, it is the anti-cancer diet. So I started to really, really appreciate some of these old ancient learnings, and I started to read about it even more. And I learned ashwagandha. So ashwagandha is an herb. It's like a root, and it's literally means like the stink of a horse, because it's like it's the strength of a horse, and it gives you energy, and it gives you
Yes.
hormone balance, but it's an adaptogen. So it doesn't add hormones or take away hormones like estrogen or progesterone or testosterone. It actually balances it, boosts you up where you need it, and it brings you down where you need it. And it's well studied and well tolerated. So I started to really, really learn a little bit about those. They're in our toolbox, and we should keep them in our toolbox. I don't understand why it's put in the category of like, woo-woo medicine, when it's
No.
actually, there are things
Yeah.
out there: garlic, ginger, turmeric, black pepper, cardamom. All these things are medicinal, and we should be using them on a daily basis. So that's how I incorporate Ayurveda. It's like it's in my toolbox, and I use it often.
Yeah. And we see a lot of it. We see a lot of those things in oncology.
Yeah.
Ginger for nausea, turmeric for inflammation. And patients ask, patients bring in big bags of supplements, and some of it's, well, my aunts, uncles, brothers took that and it helped
Yeah.
them. But then there's real data. In preparation for this podcast, I did just a recent Medline search on turmeric and cancer, and there's thousands of articles.
I know.
Thousands of articles.
Crazy.
So it's, PubMed is catching up. But there is research. So it's really almost coming it is coming full circle. There's overlap. And I think the best doctors are open-minded and loving, and don't just push off
Yeah.
our brothers and sisters in naturopathic. We got to work
Yeah.
together, right?
Yeah.
We have to work together.
And I get it. So here's the thing. I think the divide between physicians and natural healers is because there's some discord on both ends. Like, natural healers hate that a lot of physicians just prescribe without having any kind of discussion about diet or lifestyle. Whereas physicians, when we're trained as physicians, we really look at those people who come in with big, huge bags of like supplements from their naturopath. And we're like, oh my God, like these people, what are they even taking? Do they even know? Because they're questioning taking something that's like going to save their lives, yet they're asking no questions and taking hundreds of supplements. Yeah. And so it's frustration on both ends and competition.
It's like this. It's like
this. Yeah. But I agree with you that I think everybody has a place and in your healing journey. I'm not going to say that my healing journey would be complete with just medications. I didn't really take any medications, actually. It's really been all lifestyle and diet and exercise and very, very few supplements. And so I can say that it kind of was both sides.
Yeah. What helped me the most was like that, what you said, morning yoga and then meditation. And it wasn't, you're right, it wasn't like a new medication.
No.
I did take like, like a ashwagandha, like a stress formula, adrenal, our friend Jason. Yeah. He does adrenal stuff. But I just have to say that what I love about you again is the way that you teach. You're not judgmental. You just say, this is these things that help me. These are things that help me. Try them on like you would try on a new shirt. If it sticks, stick with it. If it doesn't, well, here's some other suggestions. Your Instagram is, I just feel it's healing to be on there. I just love your posts. And so, one last piece on the book, and then I'll let you go because I know you're so busy. Tell us a little bit more about the book and how it came to be, and then what are the big, like if you had to put like the three takeaway big concepts from the book that you want people to just know right now. You had 3 billboards. And each billboard is just, you're driving down the street, billboard 1, billboard 2, billboard 3. What would they say that you want people to be left with from listening to this today about your book specifically?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm so effing tired. What you'll get is an entertaining read, but also lots of science. So first it'll be the background to, some of the reasons we're so tired, talking about what hormones are, because even as a physician, I had to learn what you hear all these words, adrenal fatigue, like hormone. Right. So really boiling down the science into understandable kind of facts, and then giving you a plan, like a done for you plan, something that people ask me for every single day. They're like, okay, I get fine. The science is great. Circadian fasting is awesome. So, hormone, yes, get it. Balancing, anti-inflammatory, but give me the foods to eat, how long to fast, what to break it with, what workouts to do. And so I did that. In the second half of the book, it's like a done for you plan. Good. So, because, I felt, and there's recipes, and basically the point is to get you going, like a boost, into, just like you said, trying on this, lifestyle, as a backpack, and then you can take it off or you can leave it on and put, make it bigger, make it heavier, make it more complex. That's up to you. So, you'll find my story in more detail that we talked about today. You'll find the science behind all of this stuff, because I didn't want to leave you with just kind of the recommendations. And then you'll have the plan. And if I had to say the 3 things that will do for you, it will tell you what to eat, because I couldn't talk about fasting without actually saying it's equally important what you eat. Like you can't just eat junk all day and fast.
Right.
Yeah. So it's what you eat, it's when you eat because of circadian fasting. And then it's managing your mind, your stress, and your emotions. So that mind-body connection piece is something that we sorely miss, like what you eat, when you eat, and managing your mind. Those three things are the three things that you will get from the book. And if anyone's a fan of Audible, get it on Audible, because on Audible, I was in between the chapters. I give a bunch of asides or takeaways, and I kind of go
Ooh,
off the cuff there.
I
And
love that.
everybody's given me pretty good feedback on that one. So check it out.
Get the Audible version of I'm So Effing Tired for extra bonus content, off the cuff, improvising, and just sharing what she knows, what Amy knows. And where can people find you when they're done reading the book and they want to reach out and follow you?
Yeah. Just like you said, I'm at Fasting MD on Instagram. So FASTINGMD. I am actually, by the time this podcast goes up, I do have a page that has like a free download of a chapter and
Good.
a whole bunch of bonus material. It's at imsoeffingtired.com
Good.
/free. So imsoeffingtired.com is the name of my book and the name of the site that my book is on. And then if you
EFFING.
Yes. And then you do /free, and you can get a bunch of free downloads, especially that chapter that you can get a taste of the book if you haven't checked it out yet.
And definitely get the Audible version. You can buy both. You can get Kindle and Audible for like a discount.
Yeah.
Okay. The last thing is, I just want to thank you and honor who you are in the world. A light. I see you as a beautiful, intelligent light, a beacon of love. We happen to have a book around the same time. Mine's coming out later this month, and it's called Love.
Exciting.
It's Love is the Strongest Medicine.
I love it.
You embody that. And that's why I'm so glad that you joined me today. And everybody gets I'm So Effing Tired. Follow Dr. Amy at @FastingMD. Amy, thank you so much for coming on, my friend. You're amazing. And new doctors out there graduating this month, follow Dr. Amy and aspire to be the kind of doctor and MD that she is, where you incorporate the mind and the body and medicine all together, wrapped up in love.
That's you too, Dr. Stephen. Follow Dr. Stephen. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you, Amy, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you so much.
Bye.
There's a doctor named Steven Eisenberg down San Diego way. He's got a didgeridoo, and man, you just gotta hear him play. When his people come in for chemo, he knows they'll be upset. He picks up that didgeridoo and plays music they can't forget. Dr. Steven Eisenberg, Dr. Steven, woo, Dr. Steven Eisenberg, Dr. Steven Eisenberg.